I want to welcome you to our program today. I'm very excited. We have a very special guest with us. Her name is Sylvana Airan. And so, Sylvana, I just want to welcome you today.
Thank you.
And Sylvana is from Lincoln, Nebraska, where she works at the University of Nebraska. But she's got a very interesting history in that she grew up in Pakistan. And so, Sylvana, why don't you explain to us just a little bit about Pakistan? You know, we hear about Pakistan, you know, once in a while we hear about Pakistan in the news, but it's an interesting country, and you know, we always kind of associate Pakistan with India. And could you just explain a little bit of the history there?
Sure. Just to explain where Pakistan is located and how it came about, what I usually tell people is, look at the palm of my hand, and this is India. And the British ruled over India. In 1947, the local people asked the British to leave India. When they got ready to leave India, the Hindus said, India is ours, and the Muslims said, no, India is ours. So the British looked at the population of India, and they noticed that the middle section of India had a lot more Hindus, and the two outer sections had a lot more Muslims. So basically drew a line, the middle section, India, they gave it to the Muslims, to the Hindus, sorry, and the two outer sections, East and West Pakistan, they gave it to the Muslims. East Pakistan is now Bangladesh, and West Pakistan is Pakistan, where I'm from, the city of Karachi.
Okay, so you grew up in Pakistan, and so it's interesting because you're mentioning about Hindus being in India and then Muslims being in Pakistan, but you're a Christian.
Yes.
So could you explain just a little bit, share a little bit of your testimony of how it is that you're a Christian?
Okay, sure. From my father's side, his great-grandparents were in India, and when the missionaries came through India, that's when they were converted to the Christian faith. And I just want to take this moment to thank people who support their missionaries and pray for their missionaries, because if you had not supported and prayed for your missionaries, I may not be here as a Christian. So I just want to thank you for doing that. From my mother's side, her mother was a Christian, but her father was a Jew. And he died as a Jew in Pakistan and is actually buried in the Jewish cemetery in Pakistan. It's an interesting combination there. So,
isn't that something? And so you being, well, basically a second-generation Christian then.
Yes, that's
and
right.
So then growing up in Pakistan, being a Christian, but then now you're living here in the United States. And so what brought you to the United States then?
Coming to the United States, even as a child, I had said I was going to go to the United States. And basically it was because of Christian persecution in Pakistan that I wanted to come to the country where the missionaries come from, not realizing that God's plan was to bring me to the United States and for me to be sharing the gospel right here in America. But in Pakistan, growing up as a Christian, while my parents had really good jobs there, my mother was the principal of a high school, my father was a civil engineer, we would be the middle upper class family status. But as far as jobs, when you apply for a job, you have to put down what your religion is, and then you're treated accordingly. Anytime we're at war, there are rocks and stones thrown at the Christian homes, and so we have to lock everything up. My mother, when the government started taking over the schools, they transferred her to another school as a teacher, but not as a principal. So, we couldn't say anything about those kind of things. You just have to be quiet. It was more of a verbal, mental type of abuse that I went through. And I'm very thankful that God brought me to the United States. I appreciate the freedom we have here. I believe a lot of people in America do not realize how much freedom they have here, the security they have here, how safe their life is here. And I want people in America to realize that and to be thankful and grateful for what God has given them in this country.
Well, one of the things, as we live in the United States, and as I've raised children, growing to appreciate, a lot of the different cultures and different parts of the world. But yet, as you go to these other countries, the people, there's special things about every culture. But sometimes we think, well, everybody lives like us, but that's not the case. But like you say, you got freedom and protection.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I learned in Pakistan. The culture in Pakistan, there's a lot of things that I'm very grateful for that we have lost in the United States, and one of them is respect for the elders, respect for the teachers. We've lost that here, and I am grateful for the upbringing in that kind of a culture. The respect for the flag, we've lost that. But I'm very grateful to be here still.
But still, as you were living in Pakistan, that you certainly know what it's like to be a minority. And when Jesus says that as Christians that we are to, if we're going to follow him, that we must pick up our cross and follow him. And that's maybe one of the things that, living as a Christian in our country, what does it mean to carry the cross? And as I listen to you, that obviously, carrying the cross is to bear witness to Jesus' death and resurrection, his life and work, but also a cross. A cross is what Jesus died on. And it also represents that as we live our lives as Christians, sometimes we are suffering. Sometimes we may be discriminated against, not because of our own namesake, but bearing the name of Jesus. And so you've experienced that, to say, well, as a Christian, because here in the United States, to be a Christian, well, you're more than likely are in the majority, whereas in other countries that's not the case, and there is some of that discrimination, and like you say, it's more verbal and mental, but or if you apply for a job that maybe you don't get the opportunity that you would get, if you weren't a Christian.
Yeah, I do believe that when you're persecuted, you're down on your knees a whole lot more, and closer to God. I do believe that, and you will find that with Christians overseas and even missionaries overseas who are being persecuted, they are so strong in their faith, so strong. And I tell people in the States that when you go to church, you have no fear that someone's going to shoot you. There are certain parts of Pakistan, not all of Pakistan, certain parts where the government actually has put sandbags on the outside of the church. And Sunday morning, the army comes in, the government army, with their machine guns, and they protect the Christians that are worshiping indoors, but they can't protect all the churches, So just the freedom, even like right now, where we have the freedom to talk about God and God's love and God's protection, we have so much to be grateful for.
So being a Christian in Pakistan, so in many ways it was almost like people kind of almost being the church underground, maybe not so much that.
Well, not in Karachi, where I grew up in Karachi, the city, and not so much over there. But as you go into the rural areas where it's not that westernized, then yes, you have to be careful. I personally have very, very close friends who are Jews, Muslims, and Zoroastrians. I have very close friends, and we have great respect for each other. And but also, all of these friends they're highly educated, and I can freely live with them, and we visit each other. So there's a great respect for each other, and that's how God would want it. He would want us to love one another, and He's commanded us to love each other.
To love and to respect one another.
Yes.
And so as I think about the church. You know, the church in Pakistan, and so you would go to the church, and that's where you would get Christian instruction and worship, and was there like a handful of people that would worship, or like what was the worshiping population in your church? Was there a good group of people as far as numbers, or was it just kind of a small group, or how would you describe it?
I would say our churches in Karachi at that time were Methodist and Anglican, and we had one Baptist church. And I would say that pretty much the building would be full of people. So Methodist, you will find a lot of Methodists in Pakistan, and also the Anglicans. And so I grew up in the Methodist church, but then I started attending the Baptist church in Pakistan. At that time, it was the one and only Baptist church in all of Pakistan. But now, of course, we got a few others. And so the Christians over there, they would look for opportunities to go to church. I remember going for Billy Graham crusades, where in the parking lot they'd put up a screen, and we'd have the old movies, you know, with the reels, and we would sit there and we would watch Billy Graham, and we would have revival meetings with Billy Graham's movies.
Oh, okay. So you got to hear Billy Graham once in a while via the film strip.
Yeah.
And then I would take it also that you had family time as far as time of prayer and Bible study and so forth as a family.
Yeah.
And how about some other influences? Like, was there radio, television, any other Christian influences there?
Through shortwave radio, I used to listen to Back to the Bible.
Okay.
And Back to the Bible would come on 6:30 to 7 from Radio Ceylon. And then we got a station in Rawalpindi, which is the north part of India. And I would listen to that every morning as a child growing into my teenage years, and did not realize how much of an influence it was having on my life also, because I wanted to listen to English radio stations. So that's why I was tuning into Back to the Bible. And so I come to Lincoln, Nebraska, and find that the headquarters of Back to the Bible are in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I went on some journeys with them to Israel and Turkey and Greece, and I'm now serving on the board for Back to the Bible. So God, was preparing me for that day.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
That's divine providence.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But going back to what you mentioned about family time, my mother would emphasize prayer and fasting, and that's something I've lost in the United States, and I treasure her bringing me up that way, and my dad too. He would make us sit down and read the Bible, and we would be fasting all day, and so we would have that time, of prayer and fasting, and so you had your regular church, Sunday school, youth groups, just the stuff that we do here, we had there too. So.
Yeah. Well, so you had a lot of good Christian nurturing growing up, and then, now what brought you to Lincoln, Nebraska? I mean, that's a very nice city. I can see why people would want to go there, but what brought you to Lincoln?
It does say the good life in Nebraska.
You got the Cornhuskers there, right?
I applied to 5 universities, and the University of Nebraska-Lincoln was the first one to respond, and it was also the cheapest of the 5 universities. And so that's why I chose Lincoln, Nebraska. I had never seen snow until I arrived in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we were having a snowstorm. I was very excited about the snow, but then 3 days later I said, Lord, thank you very much. I think I've had enough of this. So, but every winter I'm ready to leave, but the people in the Midwest and in Lincoln, Nebraska are just wonderful.
Some pretty hardy winters in Lincoln.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's something. So you have had to get acclimated to the winter weather, and that's something that, like in Pakistan, you don't have the the snowfall and the cold temperatures?
We do in the north part of Pakistan, but I had never seen it because
Okay.
in Karachi, when it gets cold, just one sweater was enough, so I had never seen snow until I came here.
Yeah. And so now, what is your position at the university?
At the university, I work in housing. I'm the assistant director for housing contracts and business services. So basically, we have the contracts ready for the students who are going to live in the halls, and we assign them to the halls and do all their the accounting part of their student accounts. So it's a busy job, but it's a fun job, and it's all year round. So really enjoy working there.
Yeah, so now, that's quite a history that you have, and quite a journey when you think about growing up in Pakistan and now living in Lincoln, Nebraska. But God is using you in some very amazing ways. One of the things you already mentioned is that you're on the board of the program Back to the Bible, but you also serve in so many other Christian ministries. Why don't we talk about some of those? What are some of the other, well, you are a speaker, and
yes.
so you've spoken at a lot of different places. I mean, I think up 14 different states and places. Right. So why don't you share a little bit about your speaking ministry, and what are some of the things that you want to get across as you go out and proclaim the good news of Christ?
Okay. God always gives each one of us an opportunity, and I think it's up to us to be open to those opportunities and grab those opportunities and get on the train with God. And I always give the example of the train is like us, like our life, and we can be on track or off track. And when we're on track and when we stop at the different stations, those are the phases of our life. And so we go through different phases, whether it's college life, and then you graduate, and then you get married, you have children, whatever it is, those are phases. And so I believe that we, as believers, have to be alert to opportunities that God provides and grab them. And so when I came as a student in architecture, that was not my thing. I found out about Drop an Ad and took theater. Did not know what I was going to do with theater. But because of theater and because of my mother taking me to plays like the Passion Play we had in Pakistan when we had the American school there, I did not know God was getting me ready to actually write the script for a Passion Play and direct it. And so we're coming up on our 23rd year of the Passion Play. And even with the speaking engagements, that started happening as soon as September 11th happened. And it really got to me. And God was speaking to me because I was very angry at that time. And I'm ashamed to say I was very angry, and I had to get down on my knees and ask God to help me through it. And so what I want to share with people is God's created all of us. It doesn't matter which country we're from or what religious background. And He loves us. And He wants us to love others like the way He loves us. And so I tell people, usually Americans are always asking me questions about Muslims and Muslim beliefs. And they always ask me, how do we reach out to Muslims? I work with Muslims, I have neighbors who are Muslims, somebody is dating a Muslim. How do we reach out to Muslims? And I always tell them that, the best way to reach out to Muslims or non-Christians is be a friend. Just be a friend, let God's love flow through your actions, and they will see the difference in you. And when they see the difference in you, they're going to ask you questions about your faith and your belief, and they will understand that. I've also had people say, well, I'm too scared to share the gospel. And you know what? Ask God to tell them to ask you the question. So then that way, you just have to be ready. The minute they ask the question, you share the gospel. So we have a lot of opportunities here in the States. As far as mission trips, I tell people you don't have to buy a ticket or get take vacation time or spend money to go overseas. The mission field is right here at our doorstep. And that's an opportunity God has given us. And are we going to grab it? And are we going to share God's love with them?
So it's just living your life as a Christian, doing what Jesus commanded us to do, to love one another, to love our neighbor, whatever their background may be.
Yes.
And that love is going to be shown and will be noticed, and God will open up those doors of opportunity to share our faith. And so how wonderful. That's what a wonderful approach that you have. And obviously God has opened up a lot of these doors. And you mentioned that you've directed this passion play. What do you say, 22 years?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be our 23rd year coming up.
23rd.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a live passion play in Spearfish, South Dakota once, and then of course there's that one in Germany, in Aargau.
Yeah.
And you've actually seen that one.
Yeah, I went in 2010. Actually, I went for Back to the Bible group there. It was very good. It's all in German. It was very good. The thing with our play, I tell people it's anointed because the people in our church, we're not professionals, but we're asked every time, do you have professionals who are your actors and actresses? Do you have professionals making your costumes? Do you have professionals who's doing the makeup and the special effects? It's not, it's just the church people, but it's done so well. The church folks do such a great job of everything. And the reason I believe it's anointed is because we only have 2 main rehearsals. We don't have an understudy for the main cast. And we have people of different religions attending. We have Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists. We've also had a Jew. So when you see other people of different religions come into a church to watch a passion play, you know God has anointed it. So. And
this involves a lot of people in your church, doesn't it?
Yes.
When you talk about directing a passion play, I just can envision, you've got a lot of people, plus you probably have animals and everything else to try to work with. How many people approximately do you work with?
About 200 people, and we do have live animals. You're right. We have little baby lambs that are given a bath, and they have diapers on, and we have fainting goats and a donkey and chickens, Chinese chickens. So, and that's always an attraction too. People can't believe that we actually have live animals right there in the church. So we get a lot of people coming just out of curiosity also.
Okay, so as you have do you do it like once, or is there a number of times that you do it throughout a period of time?
It's actually, we have 5 performances, and it's Palm Sunday weekend every year. And we have people that come to it from actually out of town. So we have vans and buses that come in. And
so this would be at Southview Baptist Church in Lincoln?
Yes, that's correct.
And so I guess that's maybe something for people to think about if you're looking at going to the Passion Play that Sylvana directs. That'll be over Palm Sunday weekend.
Yep.
Down in Lincoln, Nebraska at the Southview Baptist Church. And as far as your speaking engagements, you mention about different things, but you obviously cover a lot of ground. You get to a lot of states and a lot of communities, and you've spoken at a wide variety of events. It's not like you just go and speak to a particular church denomination. You're going out and speaking to all different denominations and organizations.
Anybody that calls and says, would you come and speak, I say yes, because again, that's an opportunity. And so it's just amazing how God works it out, whether it's in Atlanta or it's in Bella Vista, Arkansas, it doesn't matter where, God just provides. And I do have people that will say, well, you must charge a large fee, and no, I don't charge because I have a regular job, and so these are opportunities that God's given me, and I want to share. I want to share about God's love and what He's done for me and what He can do for you.
Yeah, so you look at your life and how God has just taken you and has molded you and made you into this very special person that He now uses in so many different ways, and how you witness, whether it's one-on-one with people or through your passion play ministry or going out and speaking. And that's one of the things that we certainly want to have up here on the screen, is that if your church or organization would like to have Sylvana come and speak, that this is how you get a hold of her. And she's just such a delightful person and has quite a message, a very deep and strong faith. And that's one of the things I appreciate. It's a message of Jesus' love, a message that binds us together. And I don't know, as I'm listening, I was kind of thinking of this Bible passage, this verse from Acts chapter 1, verses 7 and 8. He said to them, "It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by His own authority, but you will receive power from when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." And certainly I think that's what you're a witness, that the Holy Spirit has taken a hold of you, and whether it be in Pakistan or Lincoln, Nebraska, or all these different places where you have spoken, you are being, like you said, you don't have to go to the ends of the earth, right in your own backyard. You can witness to somebody, but then again, that we support and pray for our missionaries who are in these other countries, and oftentimes their ministry is not always the easiest thing. So, well, I just want to say that you are certainly a blessing to us and to so many people, and that God has used your life to touch so many other people's lives. And so we really do thank you for that. And I just want to thank all of those who are watching today, and we appreciate you as well. And so we just trust that God's inspiring you and blessing you and making you that witness, that wherever you are, to know that this is the day the Lord has made. It's the day to share. Well, God bless you this day.